Where do you think you sort of get the best leads, most leads? What couldn't you do without?
I know TikTok is such an amazing platform now, but I still think is the platform that we see the highest results, as you could say, from.
The Bikini Girl.
Dessy Harris, founder of Bydee Babes, the genius behind one of Australia's biggest swimwear brands
That sells a bikini every single minute.
The last collection launch, we had a 65% return customer rate on that day of the new collection launch.
What's the strategy like leading into a new collection? How long do you sort of advertise it before you launch it, and how do you create that hype?
4 weeks is our typical rule, and creating hype, I mean, marketing hate when we do this, but if we and we have the kind of whole creative team posting BTS on their stories, they kind of post, we reshare it, creates this hype, like, when is this releasing? I want this. And that's kind of the first hype. And then we kind of...
What sort of advice would you give anyone starting out, looking to go on a path similar to you?
I think the first one's like, find your...
If you're interested in growing wealth through townhouse development, check out the Little Fish Network. You get coaching, expert access, and community support. It's essentially everything you need to win at property and development. Welcome back to Australia's #1 podcast. We are the Little Fish, and we speak to the big fish about town each and every week. Please subscribe, share, follow. As everyone knows, Brucey, in 2024, we're donating $1 to our charity, Much in Need EB, long version.
Epidemiolosis bullosa.
Well done, Marcus. Worst disease you've never heard of, and a cause in desperate need of all our support. So no matter what you do, no matter if you want to transfer money, donate directly, which you can donate directly to littlefishpodcast.com/donate. But whatever you do, there's no reason why you can't subscribe, share, or follow. So please, love it, guys. All right, let's get into it. Dessy, thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, wrapped you here. It's beautiful day out there.
It's a beautiful day. I'm loving the casual vibes. I was just saying, I actually grew up just around the corner from here, so
yeah,
lovely, yes.
it's a beautiful spot down here.
That was the kitchen bench that we speak about, just up there, about
a
kilometre away, so we're nice and close.
Yeah, how good's that? How good's that? Back to your roots.
Yeah, totally.
Can we talk about where it all began for you? You know, your passion for this space is sort of obvious, meeting you just now. You know, where did it all start? And take us right back.
Yeah, I guess, okay, so to take it right back, I think we can go back. So I think growing up, I had parents that were super creative. So my mum was always, always had hobbies, from like crocheting to jewelry making to sewing. She was always doing something, and my dad was an architect, so I grew up in a super creative household. And then as I got older, my parents always encouraged, they were like, we're not going to buy you toys or video games, so we can go to Spotlight, you can spend like $30 and you can buy whatever you want. So like from origami to like scrapbooking to sewing, I was always doing something creative, both myself and my sister. And I guess fast forward to when I was doing the HSC, I needed just like an outlet. I was like quite a studyholic, I guess you could call it. I was like quite obsessive, and I needed something that was going to get my mind off my studies at the time. At the time, I also wanted to be a police officer, so very different to where I ended up. And I kind of just started making myself bikinis. It was like the heat of summer, and I was like, well, I'm a poor Year 12 student, so I'll just start making myself like bikinis. So I just started making, on my mum's kitchen bench using a sewing machine with fabric we had in the garage. And at the time, Facebook was like, I guess, a thing. There was no Instagram, so I just started posting up on my personal feed. We didn't have Marketplace or anything, so I was like, oh, I just made this bikini, and like my friends from high school would be like, oh my god, can you make me one in green? And I was like, yeah, sure, $20. Like, so I just started making them, and then I'd go in for my exams into school, and I would like hand them out in the quad, and I'd have people saying like I'd have orders, I guess, banked up that I would give, like, you know, like I had Grace, she had like a green bikini, so I'd go and give it to her, and she'd give me $20 and someone else, and then the next day I'd have more. So I guess that's how it all started. And I guess living in Maroubra, like such a beach suburb, that's how it all started.
Yeah, that's crazy. And just to be you're sort of the international brand you are today, going right back to your mum's kitchen bench, and just making them and then going and selling them. And so how did it evolve from
so I guess I didn't go to policing school as I wanted to. So I guess as I was like doing my final like exams and stuff, I was kind of like, oh, I really love doing this. And it was like such a fun hobby that I was like, maybe I could make a career out of this. And I was a bit of at a crossroads. So I was like, oh, I'll just put fashion as my like number one thing that I want to do at uni as opposed to policing. I put policing second. I was like, if I get it, I get it. If not, I'll just go with policing. And I got the marks and I got into UTS. And I guess that's kind of where it all catapulted. Like I kind of continued to make things and continued to sell them on Facebook at the time. And then, did a fashion degree. And then from there, just decided I kept making more and did my first market stall at Glebe Markets. I believe it was in 2015, I think I did my first market stall. And I was a full-time market girlie till about 2019. I did my last market.
Yeah, right. So that's a big stretch at the markets.
Yeah, it was.
And so talk to us about, so you're making them yourself. How long were you making them yourself for?
Yeah, so I was probably making them myself for a solid 2 years. Yep. And then I employed my mum as my first employee. And she really helped me, I guess, to be able to make bulk, to be able to go to the markets, because you couldn't go to the markets with like 5 bikinis. And most days by 12 o'clock I'd sold out, because like if we remember, like my prices were so cheap, they were all handmade. It was different. There was no other bikini stores at Glebe Market, so it was pretty exciting. And at the time, again, just posting on Facebook. I think I had an Instagram page by then, but it was not Bydee. I think it was called Swimwear by Dessy. I was named. And then just continued to do that. And then I think I found a supplier in 2016 over in Bali, and I started to get some production made there while still making it myself. So I was kind of balancing the two.
How hard is it to I guess, go from making them yourself with your mum and going, oh, I know what I want, and then having to go and explain it to somebody else, overseas in those type of environments? Like, how hard was it to get the product that you wanted?
It was really hard. At one point I flew over there with my like little paper pattern pieces, and we're like, this is how I make them. I like sat down, I'd sew them with like the Indonesian ladies. I'm like, this is how I sew them. You put a zigzag stitch here, straight stitch here, like, and so we're kind of making them together, like, okay. And so eventually got the quality that I wanted, and then almost kind of went a level up, because I was like, well, if I'm not making it and these people have probably way more expertise than I have, I can probably add things. So that's where beading kind of started, and I wanted to bring something that was different to the market. So I started to add beading onto our swimwear, which hadn't really seen in the Australian market at the time. I'd seen it in the European market, but not in the Australian market.
Yeah, nice. Now, I'm just thinking for people out there that are looking to sort of start something and get something going, are we talking about, what kind of expense are we talking about to get something off and running? Were you, building money slowly by doing the product you were making and then being able to then expand overseas to pay someone else? How did that work?
Exactly. I think I was so lucky that I kind of had this little client base here in Australia that I was selling bikinis to, and I was living at home. I had no mortgage, no kids, no, I guess, real responsibilities. So I was able to save every dollar from selling both at the markets and on my personal Facebook page, and kind of funnel that into producing offshore. So I guess no initial capital, but I think if you're starting offshore, I think Bali's a really good place because they super low minimums. I think it was like a 10 per style per size minimum, which is so low, and a great starting point.
Yeah.
I want to talk about the markets just quickly, because that was 4 years of your journey. What was the hype like? Is that you're going every single day of the week, or how does that operate?
Yeah, so I started off doing Glebe. I think it was once a month I started, and then as I guess it continued, I turned weekly, probably towards, after about a year in, I think I turned about weekly, and I would do Glebe markets, Paddington markets, Manly markets, Warriewood markets, a few uni markets. I did USyd and University of Wollongong. So I'd say it was probably 3 to 4 days a week, and they were like huge days, but I loved it. And I felt like it was like the best foundations for the brand, because I would literally see girls try on the bikinis and like things wouldn't fit them, and I'd be like, okay, why wouldn't that fit them? And then I'd go home and I'd like make a new style bikini that would maybe fit that girl if she came in next time. And so it just like, and also you'd hear girls say like, oh, I wish that had a tie, or I wish that had this, and it allowed you to kind of get first-hand feedback than like launching a product, putting it online and waiting 3 to 4 months to actually get feedback. It was like instant.
Wow. Yeah, I think that's great advice. The fact that you built your little marketplace here, and slow and steady, and you listened to what they want, and you were flexible, and you were active in making sure that product was suitable to your marketplace. And then when you went out to go and then get those suppliers to I guess put that investment there, you already had your marketplace. So when the stock would come through, I'd imagine that marketplace was ready to buy.
Exactly. Yeah, it was like the best learning experience. And I give that advice to a lot of people who are wanting to start and like go to a market stall. I know it's not glamorous, but you'll literally get people walk past, go, oh, that's expensive. Or they'll make comments and you'll kind of just get to understand. And not everyone's going to be your customer who walks past, but it at least gives you an idea of what people are thinking. Or they might say, oh my God, I love this. My daughter would love this. And you can maybe start to gauge what your demographic looks like. Like it's just so good just to get people to get eyes on your product.
Yeah. Is it, I think, talk about sort of, is there long and sort of, sort of underwhelming days at the markets? Is there days where you're packing up the gear, back in the car, taking this home, Mum? We didn't move it today.
I'm so lucky. I never had a no sales day, which I'm so grateful for because I had friends that had no sales days. And I just remember the look on their faces, you just felt so sorry for them. Like sometimes I'd go and actually buy something because I'm just like, oh, like I just feel so sad that you've sat here for 12 hours today and you haven't made a sale. But you're dealing with all things like weather conditions, wind. You might go set up a stall and then a storm comes and you've got to pack that stall down and you've only been open for 3 hours and you've driven an hour to get there and you've sewn for 7 days to be at that market. So, there's all these factors that come into it. But I also feel like that builds a lot of grit and a lot of like, you just like, okay, on to the next. Like you kind of don't have time to sit there and have a pity party because you're just like, well, no one cares.
Yeah, we've got to keep rolling.
Yeah.
When did you feel like the momentum from the markets could take it to that next level, to where you are? Or I guess to 2019, when did you sort of launch a website and how did that come into action?
So I launched a Wix site. Don't recommend a Wix site if you're selling product, maybe for like a wedding website or something, but not an e-com site. So I launched a Wix site, I think it was 2016, launched a Wix site and just didn't really go well. So I was like, well, maybe online's not for me. So just kept on going with the markets. And then in 2018, launched a Shopify store. And that's when I really saw results kind of coming through and really saw people from the markets later converting online. And I guess in 2019, I was kind of faced where the markets and my online store were making the exact same amount of money. And I had to pick really because I couldn't service both of them. I was a one-woman team plus my mum who was making everything. But from the marketing to the posting to the, product uploads, that was all me. And then also still making things. So kind of had to make that decision. But I guess the decision wasn't hard because I was always like, I can always go back to the markets. And so 2019, I think it was July was my last market. It was a UCID market. And I remember I packed everything up that day and like I used to keep it in my car because I'd like know I'd have another market. And I actually emptied my car that day and I was like, wow, there's 4 seats. Yeah, amazing. And I just never packed the car up again. Yeah. You
timed it unbelievably well with obviously COVID coming into 2020.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, if you want to talk about that, how your business, how you had to pivot and...
Totally, yeah. So I guess June of 2019 did my last market stall. September moved into my own apartment with my partner because at the time I was just like, well, I'm full-time now at home. Can't live with my parents anymore. I've got to grow up a little bit. So I had like a spare room. I was like, this will be my office. I'll be here for the next few years. I filled the cupboards with all of our stock, had everything like, the printer ready, everything ready to send out online orders. November of 2019, I hired my first employee who worked out of my apartment. And then, I guess COVID hit in March 2020 and we had a whole collection geared towards European summer. So it was very much for the Australian market who were going on their holidays, which were all cancelled obviously because of COVID. And at the time I was like, well, I've ordered all this stock. I've pretty much invested everything from my markets into this order. I have to make it work. And so I just looked at other areas in the world that had a low tax rate and were summer, and there was the US. And I thought I'd just do some paid ads towards the US and see what happens. And it really took off. And by August 2020, we moved into a 200 square meter warehouse from my 3.5 by 3. So the product developers would know the size of that. Very small bedroom. So yeah.
Wow, so that's some massive growth in less than 6 months.
Literally. And I remember I had an order on the way. It was 35 boxes and it was on the way to my apartment. I called DHL. I was like, I'm probably going to have to redirect this. I'm not sure where yet. So just like hold tight on it because it's not going to fit in my apartment. So I'm hoping I have a warehouse by then. They're like, oh, okay, no worries. So I'd like it was so tight that I had to get this warehouse space. Otherwise I was going to be paying storage fees over at DHL to just like hold the shipment and it was also a pre-order. So at the time I was doing a lot of a pre-order model, which is something we don't do now, but is probably quite interesting, is that I'd sell the stock before it landed, mainly for cash flow purposes, but also because the demand was there. So we do like usually a between 1 to 3 week pre-order. So it'd go online, it'd sell, it'd land, and it would go out mostly sold. So at the time when I was getting that 35, those 35 boxes, most of them were sold. So the customer was waiting. Yeah, exactly. It was awesome. So
how was the feeling of getting those first few like international orders coming in where you're printing?
God. Amazing. Like looking at everyone's name, like, oh, okay, yep, Barbara, yep. Oh my God, I wonder what she's doing. Like, yeah, it was just crazy. And like not sleeping because you'd be up all night, like looking at the orders coming in. Where are they shopping from? Like obviously Shopify's got like great features where you can see all that. So yeah, not a lot of sleep, but lots of excitement.
Was there any time, because this sounds all sort of really amazing, but was there any time where, you know, the stress was real and, you know, you get that factory space and then you're putting these big orders in, you know, was there any time where you sort of thought, oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to move this stock, you know, I don't know if I'm going to take off in the States, you know, how were the stressful times, I suppose?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in business there's always stressful times, and I guess early on they probably hit harder because you're kind of banking everything on it, whereas I feel like now perhaps it's a little more diluted where there's stresses that pop up every single day, but I'm like, none of this is going to necessarily break us tomorrow. So whereas in that early phase you feel like that, and probably because it will.
It also sounded like you're wearing a lot of the hats as well.
You're
doing
every
role.
Yeah.
So
yeah, totally. Like, you know, like you're signing a lease, like, oh, okay, send this to your lawyer. Like, oh, lawyer, yeah, I need one of those. Okay, yeah, send it to the lawyer. So who's the lawyer? So just like finding all those things and like, yeah, it was hard. But I guess in terms of managing the stress of it, I think kind of the excitement of it all, I feel like was kind of overtaking the stresses of it all. But I guess to answer your question on like, was there a moment? Yeah, there was. And because we're so collection based, I think we're only as good as our last collection. So like we don't have a core product at Bydee. So nothing stays forever. Like, you know, industry, for example, like they've got like, you know, brands that have like core, they've got like a white shirt, a black shirt that they can rely on sales to kind of tick them through. For us, we're collections. So we launch prints. So once the prints kind of come to the end of their cycle, we launch new ones and we don't keep prints around forever. So we had one particular print which was called Cecilia, which was doing so well for the business, and the time had kind of to come where we were selling, you know, so much of it. I was like, we really need something new. Like I want to be known for more than just this print, and trying to find that was really hard. And we launched a collection. I remember being like, yes, let's go, and it just didn't go. And I still have fabric for it somewhere in Bali in a warehouse that is just sitting there. And unfortunately, hopefully we find a use for it one day, but it's just the reality of it, I guess. Not everything takes off how you think it will.
Yeah. And what does, you know, is that you guys, you know, doing your research, going, hey, I think this is hot, we're going to do this, we're going to go in this direction, and then just it not moving, you know, and then do you then source feedback and say, well, why aren't we liking these girls? What's going on?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like a lot of it's like what I like, I guess. Like I've always kind of built the business around like what I like, and I guess growing up on the Eastern Beaches, I was like I saw a lot of trends, and I saw a lot of what people, or like I had a lot of girlfriends that were like, I want this or I want this. So I guess always kind of making things in line with that. But again, that doesn't always land. And in terms of, I guess, feedback all the time, like I'd always do polls like, you know, what colors do you want to see from us? Or like, what place should we shoot in next? And we still do that now. It's probably hard now because we work so much further in advance. So like to ask a customer, what do you want to see in 10 months time is perhaps not as engaging as like, what do you want to see next month? So it's slightly different now, but we still ask for feedback, and it's so important. And I think that's what has really helped the business to grow, is just like constantly listening to our customers, which we call Bydee Babes, because they are essentially who we're serving.
Yeah, I think that's super important to, I guess, seek out that feedback and then also listen to that feedback and not be sort of, you know, so gung-ho in a certain direction. I think you need to be able to sort of pivot and, you know, listen and move and sort of be flexible.
Yeah, totally.
You mentioned you've got Bydee Babes. How was the transition from Swimwear Bydee to Bydee, and then how did the community of Bydee Babes sort of come about?
Yeah, good question. I mean, Bydee kind of came about, I think it was 2018. I was like, Swimwear by Dessy just isn't it. So like we really established Bydee. I mean, I think it was before then, but really kind of elevated it to a next level. And then the Bydee Babes really came about because at the time, I think we were calling them babes, and it just kind of like rolled off the tongue one day. I think someone said to me like Bydee Babes. I was like, oh, I love that. And it just kind of stuck. And then now like a lot of our customers refer to themselves as Bydee Babes. Like, I'm like so proud to be part of the Bydee Babe community. And like they'll say things like that with the hashtag Bydee Babes on their photos. So it's really nice to see it come full circle.
That's awesome. And I saw on your website, you've got the environmental impact as well.
Yes.
You introduced that in 2019.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk to us about that?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, I don't really talk too much about it because I find like when it comes to sustainability, I feel like now it's an expectation of most businesses to have a level of sustainability, whether that's their packaging or their fabrications. I just think there's so much available in the market now. It would be like, I think it's quite crazy when businesses don't use sustainable packaging. So, but I guess to talk to that in 2019, when we really kind of hit our peak, I was like, well, I may as well spend that little bit extra and buy compostable packaging. I think I was buying it from Better Packaging & Co. at the time. And it was like only that little bit extra, but I felt like it had such a pull for customers. And especially at the time, it was quite trendy. So it was probably a bit of a marketing tactic, but also just like so much better for the environment. So it kind of was both. And even our fabrics. So we work with Reprieve, which is a yarn. So Reprieve is an American company, and they essentially make the yarn, which is what is weft into the fabric, and they make that from post-consumer materials. So I guess if you go to their website, they have like, you know, a full clock of how many plastic bottles they've recycled. It's amazing, and there are a lot of like China alternatives to that fabric, but we've opted to stick with Reprieve only because of their name and their reputation in the business, and that definitely is the more expensive option, but we feel like that's an option that our customers trust, we trust, and we're really invested in getting them a good quality product that's also good for the environment.
Yeah, nice. Do you think, it sounds like you've been able to create a community, I think, which is super important, and people are buying into your brand. What do you think is the difference that you're creating there? Is it your passion as a founder? Is it the fact that you're authentic? Is it the environmental factor? Is it just people love them because they're hot? What do you put it down to? The fact that you are growing the way you are, and you have got such a great community.
Yeah, I guess it's probably a combination of all those things that you said. I think content is something that we invested early on into quite a bit. I mean, I think my first photo shoot I did was actually over in, where was it? I think it was Freshwater or something. But then the next photo shoot I did was in Italy and then Morocco. Just whilst I was personally traveling, I was like, I may as well tack some photo shoots onto this. And one of them was actually planned whilst I was over there, so it was quite off the cuff. But I guess investing in that kind of aspirational content, which at the time I found super engaging. So I had assumed that our customer would, and they did, and that's kind of stuck. And so we don't go and shoot stuff over in a studio. We don't go and like pop down to Maroubra and take some quick photos. Like, that's all fine, and we've done little bits of that in the past, but our main campaigns are shot around the world where people are like, oh my God, get me there and get me in that bikini. So it's more so creating something that people resonate with, more so than just a product. It's like a feeling that you get when you look at that photo and you're like, I need to be in Milos and I need to be wearing that bikini.
It's the emotion of buying things. Remember Simon Beard talked about that, Creative Culture Kings, who we had on the podcast last year. Yeah. He talked a lot about the emotion of when you make a purchase. He spoke a lot about that in-store emotion. When you go into a Culture Kings, there's a whole vibe and energy.
DJs,
but yeah, that's it. Whereas, what you're creating sounds like you're creating something that people desire.
Totally.
Be on a holiday, be in your bikini, by the beach.
Yeah.
It's something where you want to be.
It's like a lifestyle sort of thing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And a piece of clothing, but you're selling a lifestyle.
Exactly.
As well, yeah.
And I guess our pieces as well, like everything's designed in-house. So I guess like what kind of sets us apart is every single, most pieces have like a little charm on it. Every single charm changes for every collection. That charm takes 3 months to design. It's like a little jewelry piece. Like, for example, a recent collection, which was a Greek-inspired collection, it had like a little envelope with a little love heart, and on the back of it, it said agapi, which means love in Greek. It's like this big, but it's on the bikini. And like those little touches, that it's like that extra step where people, like, they see the engaging content, they're like, love it. They go to the website, they're like, oh my God, it's hand beaded. That's incredible. And like, oh, the charm, it's so cute. And the print, I've never seen that print before. It's like kind of layers onto it. And then they're like, oh, the content's amazing. So it's like, it's not just like you're showing them like a product on like a white wall. It's like you're really showing them a whole story and really engaging them.
Awesome.
Yeah, I love that. Those little extra things, going the extra yards for the, trying to set yourself apart. How many people do you have on the team at the moment?
So I guess whole team is 35, and I think we've got 12 full-timers.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah. So talk to us about that. Like you got, your mum who,
She's
works.
still there now.
Well,
yeah,
that's
she's
amazing.
in the warehouse packing orders. Yeah,
Look at that.
so all those years on. So yeah, she loves it. When we're down at the beach, she's like, maybe I packed that girl's order. I'm like, yeah, maybe you did, Mum.
But, to have her, which it sounds like she's been an amazing support, and I'm sure she's super proud when she, sees where, you guys have taken it to. But to have mum, and now you've got, circa 35 people that you've got to pay them, you've got to lead them. They're coming and they're working for you day in, day out. Talk to us about the the growth that maybe you had to go through during that time to be able to sort of lead a team like that and have them all buy in to Bydee.
Yeah, for sure. I think something that really helped me early on was having like a values kind of deck, like a brand Bible. And I guess that's like what we live by. So really establishing our brand values, our team values, what we stand for, why are we doing this? And I do that onboarding with every single person that starts at Bydee to really kind of, and like I do that myself and like show them like what we're doing here. Like this isn't just like a quick cash grab. Like that's fine that this might be a weekend job, but like this is what we're doing. We're making women feel amazing. We're selling a dream. Like this is our philosophy. And I think that's really helped to kind of engage people and bring them on the journey with us. And I guess the other part of it all is like leading a team is also acknowledging what you're not so good at and hiring for that. I think I'm lucky now that I can do that. Obviously early on I had to, like you said, wear all those hats, and like that's what you have to do early on. But I think there comes a point when you can say, okay, what don't I like or what am I not good at, and start to hire for that. And I guess a year ago we hired a general manager, which has just been awesome for my growth as well, to work alongside someone who's so talented and can lead a team and who has had 20 plus years of experience within the field, but also beneficial to me to kind of step into what I'm good at, which is more the creative direction side of the business, and to lead that side. Because I think when you're trying to do both, like, I mean, my title is CEO and creative director, but I guess it was very much 50-50. It was really hard to try and have 6 direct reports, plan all the photo shoots, look and feel of the brand, new prints. Like it's a lot, and I did it, but I think now it's more enjoyable and more rewarding, and I think we're seeing results faster because it's kind of been a bit more delegated, the workload.
Yeah, that's amazing, and I think we can concur. Ben, who's usually here, he's off sick today. But we sort of think about that a lot. You wear all these hats, but as you grow and you get to put amazing people in these positions, and quite often when you bring them in and their skills are dedicated to exactly that role and they can spend all their time on it, often that part of it gets done better than you doing it 20% of your time.
Totally.
And probably
and they're
not
passionate
skilled
about those areas as well. Like I think that's the difference, is bringing people in and being like, I hated doing that, and watching her do it and love it is so much more rewarding than me doing it and like despising it every single time. So yeah.
Correct. But it's, I think the lessons is getting through those times best you can and keeping all the balls in the air and wearing all the hats, but then getting to a point where you can employ those people. But I think also the lesson is knowing your own limitations, like you said, and being able to get out of the way when it is time for you to get out of the way. Did you, it sounds like you're all over it. Was that a hard thing to do, or was that something?
So hard. Yeah. I remember we hired our first digital marketing manager, and I guess I was heading up marketing before then. And I remember she was like, you need to step back, because otherwise there's no point of you having me. And I was like, yeah, you're right, I really do need to step back. I was wanting to approve everything, every single piece, and it was it's also not a good experience for them either, because you're investing in this person, but then you're also not fully trusting them. So I think that's really allowed me, I think there's quite a thorough onboarding process, which I think is important, really investing in that first that first 3 months to really get them, like I said, up to speed with the values and the philosophy of the brand. And then after that, kind of letting them, spread their wings, especially when you've spent so much time with this person. And particularly with our managers, I really like to spend a lot of time with them across product, operations, marketing, because those are all the areas that I kind of was across. And watching them flourish has been incredibly rewarding, but it was so hard at the beginning. And even now sometimes I'm want to step in, but I'm no, that's not, I don't need to do that. And I just have to tell myself, but it's hard.
Yeah, spot on. I think if you want them to, be the master of their, their own little destiny there, and sort of, get them to thrive and grow, and I think they need that autonomy to make those decisions. And I guess as long as nothing's going to break, I suppose you have to. Is it my call or their call, and does it really matter that much? No, it doesn't. So it needs to be their call, just so they know you've got their back.
Exactly.
And they're going home for night thinking, I've got autonomy to do what I do, and they feel like they're making a difference.
Totally. And sometimes I'm like, I'll see something, I'm like, oh, I don't know if I would have done that, but I'm like, is it worth having a conversation over? Or like, let's look big picture. Like overall, I'm like, I'm fine. I'm happy, and like, we'll let that one slide, because I think when you start doing that nitpicking, you can kind of also it can also be a negative experience for that person. So I think looking big picture has kind of been the last year of me kind of stepping into a different role in the business.
Yeah.
Do you think hiring your team has allowed the business to grow and expand and scale?
Totally. I mean, like, there's no way we'd be where we are, I mean, without the team. And I think that's like totally. I mean, I can't say that more. And I think every month we have like a team trade whip, and we go through everything. And every month I say, like, none of this would be possible without the people in this room, because it really wouldn't.
And what's your role currently? Are you still quite hands-on?
Yes, super hands-on. So, I mean, I'm CEO and creative director. I've kind of leaned more into the creative side of things. So my role is very much, I plan all of our photo shoots, destinations. I still do all the coordination for the photo shoots at the moment. I do all of the creative direction for the new collections that are coming out. So the inspiration behind them. I do a lot of the print designing still. And then I work closely with the product department and the marketing department. Not so much operations, not my skill set, but with product and marketing. I mean, I went over to China twice last year, getting into all the details in terms of like what elastic is in our pieces, what stitch are we using on our pieces, like just to try and get consistency across. We've got now multiple factories. And so for us, it's been about making everything super consistent. So if you buy something, you don't know that it's from somewhere different. So that's what last year was a lot about. And like, you know, on the floor in warehouses in China, like sifting through elastics, you know, doing quality checks. Like I was all across that. And then from marketing side, you know, helping pick influencers and helping approve content, sometimes even creating content. So yeah, I guess those are the areas I spend most of my time in and I love.
How do you go about, I guess, approaching influencers, you say, to promote your brand? Does it come naturally, or is it more, do you want to reach out to them because you like how they inspire their audience, or is it, you know, they've got 200,000 followers, I want to get them in my bikinis? Yeah,
totally. I mean, when we started, we didn't do influencer marketing for probably maybe 2 years, I think. Like we just didn't touch it. We only like collaborated with people who approached us, and I guess when I look back, I think it was a pretty good move in the sense that we've now created a brand that influencers want to wear. So they come to us, and we were never a brand that was constantly having these huge, you know, glitzy influencer events and, you know, paying huge amounts to the, you know, Kylie Jenners and all of those things that some other brands did, which really worked for them. But I think for us, it was focusing on our product, creating awesome content that even our influencers would look at and be like, oh my God, I need to go to Milos and I need that bikini. So it was kind of like the same marketing tactic for our customers as it was for our influencers. And now I would say 95% of the influencers we work with have approached us. The 5% that haven't approached us, it's always because we resonate with their content. We feel like they're super engaging and there's kind of different buckets of influencers. I think you have the influencers that influence in terms of like, say they're a mummy blogger and they're like, have a super engaged audience who, you know, love to see what they're wearing and what they're doing. Then you also have influencers who perhaps don't have a personality, but they create killer content that when you see it, you're like, I need that. So we work with, you know, both types of influencers.
Yeah. How what do you think your most important platform is? And it's an ever evolving space. You know, we're sort of, you know, dealing with it. You've got your social girl here,
yes,
content girl here today, Charlotte, capturing moments right now. But you know, where do you think is, you know, you sort of get the best leads, most leads? You know, what couldn't you do without?
Yeah, I mean, I think Instagram, we were built on Instagram. When Instagram started, that's the first platform we went to. And I'm a millennial, so I love Instagram so much. I know TikTok is such a amazing platform now, but I still think Instagram is the platform that we see, I guess, the highest results, I guess you could say, from.
Yep.
And we do a lot of paid advertising as well, which is great across Instagram and Facebook.
Gotcha. Where do you set your sights on? You said you got sort of 12 full-time, 35 in total people, international. What do you set your sights on? Is it different markets around the world? You said the US is good to you. Where does the growth come from for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think had you have asked me this question probably 6 to 12 months ago, I would have said definitely new markets. But as we've kind of delved a bit deeper into new markets, we're super invested in how, I guess, our customer receives their product and their online experience. And I think other markets, for example, Europe, have super high tax rates into the country from a very low amount. So if you buy a Bydee bikini and you're, say, from Germany, you'll likely be paying about 35 to 40% of that price on top of in customs and duties. And I guess we've really tried to navigate that for the last 12 months, and we're still working on it because it's not a nice shopping experience for our customers. I mean, I would hate to buy something and then get it to my door in DHL like, hey, you need we need another $70 before you can get it, fully delivered. So we've really tried to improve on that, and it's something we're still improving on, but I think it's a bit more of a journey. And I'd say right now what we're really looking towards is really growing that Australian and US market. I think we have a really good hold in the Australian market, but I think in the US we've only just dipped our toes.
And it's such a massive market, I suppose, isn't it?
You're talking it's 4 times the amount of Australia. So yeah, it's I think we could grow a lot more in that market.
With your customer base, do you find as you release new collections, you're getting repeat customers coming back? Do you have that data?
Yeah. So when we launch a new collection, I think the last collection launch, we had a 65% return customer rate on that day of the new collection launch. Wow. So high. We've, I guess, moved our focus on new customer acquisition. So we're putting a lot of spend behind acquiring new customers. So that 60% doesn't necessarily fold through to the rest of the year, but that's because, we don't necessarily want it to, because we really want to be reaching new customers, but we still have a super high return rate. And I guess from a, acquisition perspective, we're kind of trying to get the word out there as to how amazing our product is and our content. And then the customer, ideally, if we do our job, they'll just return organically without us having to necessarily, hit them back with ads and things like that. We can do other things like EDMs and, continuing to post on our socials organically. So, that's definitely the case. But when we launch new collections, it's very much repeat customers who are very invested in the brand. I think a new customer, they don't know if it's a new collection or an old collection. They're just seeing it as a product.
And what's the strategy like leading into a new collection? How long do you sort of advertise it before you launch it, and how do you create that hype?
Yeah, 4 weeks is our typical rule. And creating hype, I mean, marketing hate when we do this, but if we shoot close enough to the so if we shoot say 6 weeks out from launch, I mean, they're kind of KPIs. They need us to shoot 10 weeks out from launch, but it doesn't really it hasn't happened the last few times. But if we shoot that kind of 6 weeks out from launch, and we have the kind of whole creative team posting BTS on their stories, and a lot of the time these influencers have these models have high followings, they kind of post, we reshare, it creates this hype, when is this releasing, I want this. And that's kind of the first hype. And then we kind of move on to organic socials. We kind of post a blurred video, which is our thing of kind of teasing the collection. And then we kind of start to show more and more as it goes on. And we always show kind of our Bydee Babes Club, which is our VIP customers, our VIP kind of sign up list, who are part of our loyalty program. We always show them the first kind of glimpse of the collection.
Is that important to, I guess, have those levels of, supporter, to the people that are really there and really following, and that really strong community, to give them first option at things and that sort of stuff?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it kind of ties back to our whole, our whole brand values is kind of creating that community. And I think to create that community, you have to make the people who are part of it feel like they're exclusive to it, which they are. So showing them first is super important.
Yeah, obviously bikinis is, what you do. Is there any thoughts, you've got this engaged community, you've got this amazing brand, do you branch off and do some other things to try and grow the revenue stream, grow the offerings, have that community sort of spend more with you, essentially? Is any sort of thoughts around that, or what are your thoughts around that? Obviously, you've got your bread and butter. Is it sort of dangerous to go into other areas, do you think?
Yeah.
Or do you think, to get some more pipelines is something you've thought of?
Yeah, no, definitely. We started to dabble into more ready to wear, which comes as part, I guess, like the way we see it is like when you're going to Europe, it's like a one-stop shop. So you buy your bikinis, you can buy like your beach club outfit. So really kind of creating a place that you can come and buy all of that.
Yes.
And we're also dabbling with jewelry at the moment. So that's exciting. So that will be launching later on in the year, our first kind of small collection, but it'll continue to evolve this year. And we've got like lots of exciting things planned for it, which is cool.
Your mum will be excited about that.
Mum will be so excited. Yes. She doesn't know she'll have to put each piece into a box yet, so she'll find out and say like, oh, this is too time consuming.
Might be a bit of overtime for mum.
Yeah, exactly. A bit of overtime for mum. Yeah.
No, love it. Des, this is awesome. What sort of advice would you give anyone sort of starting out, looking to get a clothing brand off the ground, or I guess bite the bullet and sort of go on a path similar to you? What sort of advice would you give someone?
I think the first one's like find your niche, or find like your, I guess, what are you bringing to market that's different. I think we live in a very saturated market across most industries right now, and I think if you're going to be bringing something to market, it really needs to be cutting edge. I think it really needs to it really needs to kind of shine up against the rest. And I'd say be passionate about something as well. I think we wouldn't have got here if I wasn't excited and passionate about the product. And I think that's something that I really tell people is like, find what you're passionate about. And that might take a bit of time, dabbling in different things, and like that's, all good and well, definitely do that. But I think you've got to find something that you're willing to like go the long haul for, because it's not an easy journey. So I think finding that passion and finding like that niche of that interesting product that you're bringing to market that is, different to the rest, and how you're standing out.
Yeah, I think I love that part, the passion part of it and that sort of thing, because if you're doing something for the wrong reasons, or you're doing something for, I'm doing this for money, or I'm doing this for these quick wins, when they don't happen, it can get pretty frustrating, and potentially exposes you to, quitting, which, you definitely know it's not going to work if you quit.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. All right, Des, well, we've got our $10,000 question. So, if you had $10,000 to start a new business right now, what industry would you choose, and how would you spend the money to build that business or get it off the ground?
Yeah, okay.
It's not a huge budget.
I did say this early. Budget feels a bit light for the inflation.
Maybe inflation, we might need to change it to 15 or something.
Yeah. So a new industry.
A new industry, you can't just conquer what you're doing. That would be too easy. But what are you seeing out there as somebody who, is entrepreneurial, has started a great business? What other things are you seeing out there as maybe opportunities?
Yeah, at the moment, personally, I love property. As you guys do too. So,
there you go. We've got something in common.
Yeah, I know. So I think my dad was an architect, so I grew up like constantly going to open homes and looking at details, and like, he'd stand outside houses for ages just looking at them. I'm like, what are we looking at? So he'd kind of like walk me through, like, this facade, this curved edge. So anyway, I love property, and I think we shoot at a lot of amazing locations. So I'm always so inspired by those, and I don't think $10,000 is going to buy me one of those amazing places, but maybe it'll help me. And I'd love to one day be able to own a few of the beautiful locations that we shoot at, and kind of rent them out as experience stays, whether that be like an Airbnb or like for other photo shoots or something. And around the world. We shot at an awesome place in Greece, and it was just like this small little kind of village home, but just like the experience of having like your neighbor who's been there for like 65 years, and like there's just so much culture in it that I'd love to kind of invest into a few of those places and bring an experience to people, and maybe even our customers as well.
Yeah, awesome. How do you find your destinations other than just, I guess, surfing the net? Do you get to go and sort of suss them out before you tick them?
But sometimes, most of the time, no, I just like rock up. But I feel like my hobby is like making like Airbnb boards. Like there's like a setting. It's like the not superhost, like luxury, or like wow, or oh my god houses, I think it's called. And like I just like kind of search through those. I don't put a country on there, and I just like save houses in like all different places across the world that are like amazing. But also even just like beaches and places that I see on Instagram, constantly saving for our next shoot. So yeah,
awesome.
I got a question. You talked a lot about your community and your Bydee babes.
Yeah.
We like to speak about our community here at the podcast as well, and we've got a bit of a run club that we do back down around the Tan in Melbourne, which is cool. And do you guys do any community days or anything like that for the girls that buy your bikinis?
Yeah, I mean, we have something planned over in the US, which is exciting, which is definitely going to engage our community. But something that we did do recently, which I think is, I mean, I've never seen it done before, is we actually designed a collection with our Bydee babes. So our December collection last year, we did a competition and we had our Bydee babes submit a video answering a few questions as to why they should design this next collection with us. And then we picked 3 out of those. We received hundreds of entries. We picked 3 out of those. Bydee babes, and we designed a collection with them. So they picked the print, styles, colors, where we're shooting, what models we're using, and they kind of came on the full journey with us. It was like, I think it was like an 8-month exercise, 5 meetings, and it was amazing.
How was the engagement and excitement around that collection?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was so good, and the girl, and also just like hearing the girls speak about the collection and how proud they were and how excited they were, and even hearing our customers' feedback as, I've been waiting for this, or I've been wanting to do that. And I'd say that collection is something I personally would never have designed, but by the end I loved it so much that I'm like, why didn't I think of this in the best way? So that was awesome. Did
it sell out?
It did so well. It was one of our top launches, so it did really well. So definitely, I think that was a really a great move for us.
Yeah, and you'll do it again by the sound of it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, kind of thinking of a creative way to do it without rinse and repeating it. Like I always love, I kind of get bored quickly, so I'm like, how can we do something differently? But definitely would do something like that again.
I think that's super important. Like Marcus, he's spearheading up our run club, but I think getting the community, like we had just the other week, we had a run around the Tan, and we had a podcast guest that just saw it on the socials, and then just come along. You come all the way up from Geelong as well, about an hour away. So it's just I think it just shocks you how engaged people can get, and just that sort of following that that you didn't even know you had sometimes, or you didn't know was as strong.
Totally. I think like when you're kind of behind a screen, or like, behind cameras or a microphone in your case, like you just don't really realize that people are actually on the other side. Like it's like, wow, these orders, wow, these are actual people behind these computers. So it's crazy that when you see it and like watching the videos, and even like when we FaceTime them to tell them they'd won, like some of the girls were crying, and just like seeing that, I'm like, wow, like just how invested they are. That's like so, it's so amazing. And I'm like so grateful that that's our community.
How much do you think your team gets out of that? To sort of, you obviously are super proud, but the level down that you're trying to inspire them and obviously keep them firing. How much do they sort of love it, do you think?
Yeah, I think we get a lot of feedback, especially from people who've just started with us. Like, wow, the passion here is real. Like they're like, I can feel it, like from everyone in the office. And I think that kind of helps to fuel that passion. Is like when you are hearing firsthand, like you've got a video of like these customers telling you how much they love the product and how much they love the beading, and you've got your designers hearing that, like that's amazing feedback. So I think it definitely fuels us, like the whole team.
Yeah, nice. Des, this has been awesome. Is there anything you want to drop before we go, or anything exciting coming up, or if anyone's out there looking for any gear, or if we've Marcus, you got all your girlfriends back in Melbourne that might want some bikinis, mate. Where can they find you?
Yeah, awesome. We'll get a discount code up on your hinge.
Hey!
Oh, that's good.
Look out for that. But yeah, I mean, we have a new collection. We have a new collection launching in April, which is exciting, and we have something coming in May that's super different for us that we haven't done before. So it's still in swimwear, but it's quite different to anything we've done. So I'm really excited for that, and lots of just more collections coming out this year. So so excited. But thank you so much for having me.
No, thanks, and thanks so much for the insights, and well done. Your mum must love rocking up to work every day. And
even though she's she's the boss in that warehouse. But no, she loves it, and very grateful for her. It's been it's exciting having her along the journey.
Yeah, love it. Anything else from you, Marcus? Or
no, just congratulations. Awesome to hear your story. It's
thank
good.
You so much.
The success so far. It's only gonna, I guess, get better. So it's been good to hear. Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, well done, Des. All right, guys, please like, share, subscribe. Anyone who's going to get value out of that. And remember, $1 to our amazing charity EB for every share, subscribe, or follow. That's it.
Awesome.
Please, guys, enjoy. Like, share, subscribe. See you at the top.
People want to be part of people can find a better version of themselves if they choose.
You just need to go start some shit.
Action is all that matters.
Be a man of your word.
I think I look back now and I'm like, whoa, that took some guts.
Be kind, be kind, be kind.
See you at the top. New episode every Wednesday.